So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Now, according to NASA, we got some mysterious signals coming from this planet in our solar system. All right, they just detected it, so we're gonna get into it and see what's going on. If you're new, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, join the fam, and let's check this thing out.
Space is often called the final frontier, and rightly so. Stretching out beyond our atmosphere is an infinite world of strange planets, new stars, and undiscovered or inexplicable phenomena that leave even the most brilliant scientists astounded. As we continue to press into the limitless expanse beyond the solar system, we encounter a near constant stream of amazing mysteries surrounding systems that seem to function according to their own unique set of rules. Whether it is strange radio signals on Venus, the possibility for bacterial survival in space, or new additions to the Exoplanet catalogue, we never know what new information is lurking just around the corner. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be diving into 3 recent discoveries regarding space and how they have impacted our understanding of the cosmos. NASA found strange radio signal coming from Venus. Even though scientists are always on the lookout for strange or seemingly inexplicable phenomena when venturing through space, when they do encounter odd or mysterious happenings, they are frequently not at all what they expect to find. Recently, NASA's Parker Solar Probe entered the upper atmosphere of Earth's neighbour Venus in order to collect data about the planet, and the probe detected odd radio signals coming from the atmosphere. And while those of us unfamiliar with inner workings of space might immediately jump to the conclusion that these could be signals from an alien race living on the planet, the true meaning is something altogether more exciting, at least for scientists studying space, that is. These radio signals that were detected are naturally occurring within the atmosphere of Venus and indicate that the Parker Solar Probe, flying over 830 kilometers above the planet, had entered the outer atmosphere, specifically an upper layer known as the ionosphere. Remarkably, the last time that anyone had been able to detect radio readings from Venus's upper atmosphere was almost 30 years ago, in 1992, wow. Which means that this new data will be able to give researchers valuable insight into the changes that have occurred on the planet in the intervening years. This is especially valuable as the unforgiving heat of Venus's atmosphere makes the planet incredibly hard to explore and study. And what did the researchers discover about the planet that was different than in 1992? Activity? For starters, the atmosphere appears to be much thinner than the last time that data was gathered. Researchers believe that this is due to the fact that the sun's magnetic poles mysteriously swap places every 11 years as a result of the star's solar cycles. Before the magnetic poles switch, the sun's magnetic field weakens and then flares back to its maximum strength before fading again into the next switch. Because the earlier 1992 measurement was taken during a time in the solar cycle when the magnetic field was close to the maximum, and the current reading is while we are approaching the solar minimum, scientists hypothesize that the ionosphere of Venus is changing with the solar cycle and may be greatly influenced by the sun's magnetic fields. Although why this is happening is unclear, scientists hope that future data gathered from the planet will help to clue them in. So why is this radio wave analysis of Venus important? Researchers are very interested in discovering more about our sister planet, as the composition and size is remarkably similar to our own. Okay. However, there are several marked differences that make Venus totally inhospitable for all possible life forms.
The heat.
Digging into these differences and how Venus was able to become so different from our lively, flourishing planet has always been very interesting to scientists. But the aforementioned atmosphere and 462 degrees Celsius temperature makes it incredibly difficult to get close enough to gather data, and landing anything on the planet is entirely out of the question.
Now, I can't lie, that makes me a little bit nervous right there. Why? Because they called it our sister planet. You know what I mean? So my question to scientists would be, okay, is Venus like slowly progressing to start to mimic us? Or on the flip side, are we progressing and slowly starting to mimic them? Venus. You know what I mean? And if so, did you just hear those temperatures that are on that planet? That doesn't spell good for us. That don't bode well for us at all. So that part of it, that's what got me nervous. Anytime you hear them refer or reference to our planet as mimicking or a sister to another planet, I'm hearing dangerously high temperatures, I'm like, all right, whoa, what's going on? And are we headed for that in that direction?
Planet has always been very interesting to scientists, but the aforementioned atmosphere and 462 degrees Celsius temperature makes it incredibly difficult to get close enough to gather data, and landing anything on the planet is entirely out of the question. Currently, these brief snippets of information in the form of mysterious natural radio waves are all that researchers have to go on when attempting to unravel the mystery of Venus, and they consider themselves very lucky to have this small amount of information at all. Hopefully, future excursions like the one with the Parker Solar Probe can have similarly favourable results, which can add to the research and knowledge surrounding the mysterious planet Venus. Bacteria survived on the outside of the space station for a year. At the moment, those studying the potential for life outside of Earth have been operating under the assumption that everything outside of our own atmosphere is considered inhospitable until proven otherwise. Although some planets have displayed conditions that appeared favourable to the potential for life outside of Earth, there has not yet been any concrete proof of this. However, a species of bacteria known as Deinococcus radiodurans has given researchers much to think about after having survived on the outside of the International Space Station for a year, which is absolutely no small feat. Even astronauts living in the artificially engineered environment within the ISS for the same amount of time experience drastic changes in their bodies when they return, and this bacterium was not protected from the harsh realities of space. This bacterium was studied as part of an experiment where it was placed on a special platform outside of the space station in order to study its survival. On the platform, it endured ultraviolet radiation, the effects of a vacuum, seemingly unsurvivable temperatures, and microgravity. And yet, against all odds, it stayed alive. The only
So that supports theories to say, okay, remember how we talked about things that the way we look at other life forms, we think they have to look like us, survive like us, breathe air like us, do, you know what I mean? Maybe that's not the case. And that's what we talked about before. We have to start thinking outside the box and saying, okay, maybe the other life forms can survive in these conditions. Maybe they're okay. Maybe they've adapted. So to see that bacteria survive kind of lends itself a little bit to that theory of saying, okay, then maybe they can survive in this type of conditions and atmospheres and different things on these planets. So for us to automatically roll up on a planet and say, ain't no life form here. The heat temperatures are way too high. Or these gases are, whoa, these are dangerous, and who can survive in these conditions? We got to look at it and say possibly maybe they can and they've adapted and this doesn't bother them. Now, maybe without these conditions, they can't survive. So hearing that about that bacteria is interesting. That doesn't mean anything in my eyes yet, but that's interesting to hear.
Part of an experiment where it was placed on a special platform outside of the space station in order to study its survival. On the platform, it endured ultraviolet radiation, the effects of a vacuum, seemingly unsurvivable temperatures, and microgravity. And yet, against all odds, it stayed alive. The only protection that Deinococcus radiodurans had was a glass wall that filtered out any ultraviolet radiation below 190 to 200 nanometers, as scientists were attempting to mimic the conditions observed on Mars, which has frequently been touted as the location with the greatest potential for extraterrestrial life forms and may present several planetary protection concerns. Interestingly, at the end of the year, the bacterium was compared to other members of its species which had been kept as a control on Earth for the duration of the sample's stay outside of the ISS, and there were some marked differences noted. As expected, the extraterrestrial Deinococcus radiodurans had a much lower survival rate than its Earthbound counterparts, but it had also evolved some unique distinguishing characteristics, including bumps and vesicles on its surface, triggered repair mechanisms, and a slightly altered configuration of proteins and mRNA. These changes, which researchers hypothesize are due to an efficient molecular response system, can give scientists studying the potential for bacterial transport between and within extraterrestrial worlds a better idea of what life outside of Earth might look like. This is not the first time that Deinococcus radiodurans has been studied in space, nor is it the longest time that it has been exposed to the inhospitable cosmic elements, as previously a bacterium sample was left outside of the ISS for 3 years. That experiment showed that bacterial life outside of Earth-like conditions was possible, while this recent trial sought to analyze the exact mechanisms that allowed the bacterium to evolve and survive under such unbelievably extreme conditions.
Now, you can clearly see, like you said before, it ain't the same. It definitely has changed. And looking at, what is that, F and B? Yeah, it's clearly different. And that makes me think about all those astronauts that went into space. Now, they didn't directly get out of the spacecraft, but at the same time, you know what I mean? And if they did, they had on a suit. But at the same time, man, being up there in those conditions, it changed them forever. Go back and watch some of the videos where they talked about, you know what I mean, some of those missions that those astronauts went on, and when they came back, and how they checked their health and everything before they left, and how when they did a physical when they came back, news wasn't the same. Wasn't the same at all, and they will forever be changed. So looking at this bacteria, you can clearly see, oh yeah, if you survive it, being on the outside, which you probably won't, but in the case that you do, you still ain't gonna be the same.
While this recent trial sought to analyze the exact mechanisms that allowed the bacterium to evolve and survive under such unbelievably extreme conditions.
Oh yeah,
these investigations help us to understand the mechanisms and processes through which life can exist beyond Earth, expanding our knowledge on how to survive and adapt in the hostile environment of outer space, said Tetiana Milievich, a biochemist at the University of Vienna. For now, studies will continue to be conducted on other strains of bacterium in an attempt to expand the knowledge base regarding the concept of bacterial life outside of Earth. Planet HD 158259c. With ever-advancing technology allowing researchers to peer further and further into the limitless expanse that stretches beyond our atmosphere, comes the discovery and cataloguing of more and more celestial bodies, such as stars and exoplanets. One of these recent discoveries is the exoplanet named HD 158259c, which resides a short 88 light-years away from Earth. With a mass over 5 times and a radius over twice that of Earth's, this newly acquired body is certainly an interesting addition to the exoplanet catalogue. The planet has been compared to Neptune due to its large size and an apparently similar icy makeup, and it takes almost 3.5 Earth days to complete one orbit around its central star, which is a G-type star slightly larger than our own Sun. The system that planet HD 158259c is a part of is an exceptional one that researchers are carefully analysing in order to learn more about how the universe might have originally formed. For starters, there are at least 6 planets that orbit their star in a surprising configuration. Although the central star is slightly larger than our own Sun, the 6 planets circling it are all on orbital paths that are closer than half the distance from Mercury from our own Sun, which means that this arrangement is remarkably compact. Additionally, all of the planets themselves are anywhere from 2 to 6 times the size of Earth, which means that their orbits occur in a tight, synchronous, rhythmic pattern. Scientists believe that originally these planets orbited much, much further out and were drawn closer to their star as one unit over time. A compact system such as this is not entirely unique to the HD 158259 arrangement either. There are several stars of various categorizations with multiple planets orbiting in a tightly packed arrangement, but why this occurs is less clear. Although some studies argue that metallicity plays a contributing role in these systems, others disagree. One thing is for certain though, studies of strange planetary configurations such as these can help researchers to understand how the universe came to be and what rules the matter in it must follow.
Sheesh.
But what do you make of these 3 recent space discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.
Still mind-blowing to hear 88 light years away. You know what I mean? Like, that's somebody's entire lifespan if they're lucky enough to live long enough to be 88 years old. 88 light years away. Like, we gotta figure out this whole travel at the speed of light thing if we ever want to make some headway on a lot of these, you know what I mean? Getting a lot of information and making some discoveries and different things like that. That is the most crucial and critical thing we have to overcome, bro. Because now that we've found this planet and it has all these exoplanets, you know what I mean, going around it, which takes 3.5 days for it to orbit around it. We need to study it, can give us some information on how our solar system came to be. All this stuff like that, man. But getting there, the initial, like getting there is a problem. So just hearing that, always mind-blowing to me, man. But y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you thought about this video, man. The bacteria sitting on the outside of the space station and surviving. Like, that's big, that's huge to see that happen. That's positive signs, okay. How did it adapt? Okay, now maybe let's see what we can do with this information we got right here. Now, maybe we can make some headway that if something does happen and you're outside and something's punctured or some kind of way you get outside and you're not in your suit, it's a chance of survivability. And this is how we're gonna do it. You know what I mean? So all of this information that we're gathering is extremely, extremely important. Y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you thought about this video. Very interesting stuff. Till the next one, I'm gone, man. Peace.